Hello guys and welcome back to my channel. Today I'll be showing you how to make letter and number cake. First thing to do is to carve your cake or bake your cake on a silicone mold if you have one. As you can tell, I just have carved my cakes, each of which is 12 by 10 inches rectangular cake. So this number cake, I piped some cream on the edges and then filled it with yellow cream in the middle. After that, we can go ahead and place our second layer of cake. Now, as you can see, my cake is started to break. Don't worry, it is not the end of the world. If this happens to you, you can just simply put them back together to make it whole again. If you're making one-tier cake, I suggest that this is okay because there will be no pressure or weight above it, for it is just one single cake. But if you're making layers of cake, like a wedding cake, a 3-tier or 2-tier cake, then I don't suggest putting cracked cakes together unless you're using ganache 1:1 ratio to act as a glue and a barrier. Because it is hard yan. So anyways, now I'm putting a good amount of simple syrup. Simple syrup is 1 part water and 1 part boiled 1 part sugar boiled together. Let's say you put 50 grams of water, you're also going to need to put 50 grams of sugar. So this is my tip. I'm using a shell tip. I don't know the exact name of this tip, but I'm calling it shell tip because it looks like a shell when I pipe it sideways. Anyways, I'm piping border first to emphasize or to show the shape of our cake, and then we can pipe and fill in the middle, just like what we did on our first layer, diba? Okay, so I decided to put a crown, a little crown above the number cake because I made her very first number cake and the design has a crown or tiara. So I decided that for every month that I'll be doing her monthsary cake, I'll be putting a crown on the number. And now our cake base is done. I'm just going to carve a little bit of the excess cake here. So I follow the shape of our cake when I pipe so that it will really show what shape we are doing or we want to make, diba? So now we can put this and set this aside in the chiller para mag-set siya. Okay? On to our next cake. This is a letter C cake. The client requested a rosette piped on the cake, so now I'm using a Wilton 1M tip for roses, and they also wanted a purple icing, so that's what we're doing today. I'm just gonna fill in my piping bag. When I'm piping roses or rosettes, I wanted to really take my time so I can see the spacing for each rosettes. And of course, pipe the border first. Always pipe the border first, diba? I also pipe slow because I want to show every rose that I pipe and not overlap on each other. I don't want them to be overlapping, diba? So, I put a good amount of simple syrup earlier on this cake na pala. So don't forget to put simple syrup on your cake so your cakes won't get dry. Especially these cakes are naked or not well coated with icing, diba? Yung gilid walang coat. The air can get through the cake and make it dry. Simple syrup prevents that to happen. We want our customers to eat fresh, moist, and definitely satisfied. So if there's a gap on your cake, like that one, you can just simply put a little bit of icing. So there we have our letter C cake, and we can now set this in the chiller with our number 3 cake. And they live happily ever after. Charing! So for our toppers, I will be using satin ice Gumpaste. You can also use fondant for this one. And letter embossers. I have 2 different kinds of embosser here. Also, I'll be needing some tools. So, I have my xacto knife or craft knife, some ball tools, and I forgot the name of the color orange one, but these gray ones are sugar shaper, and some paint brushes. This one is my favorite. As you can see, it's so old na. So there we have our brushes, and we're also going to need some molds and cutters as well. So don't forget your mat, silicone mat, and your rolling pin. And this one pala is just optional. You can use it to put your paints, food gel color, and vodka. So let's begin. First thing, we wanted to need our gum paste or sugar paste or fondant, whatever medium you're using, to make it malleable. And now we can roll it to a thinner, to our desired thickness. Okay, so it's very humid today, and my sugar paste is really soft and kind of bit sticky, so I'm putting a good amount of cornstarch para hindi siya magdikit. So the weather really affects our medium, no? But if you have air conditioned room or your place is quite cold, and you won't be needing to put cornstarch, I guess. But since the fire got into our air condition, so now we have to remove it, and if we have money we can replace it na, but we wanted to replace it na, but we don't have money pa, so so yeah, I'm just using cornstarch today. So what I'm making now is the name topper. This is how I make my name topper with an embosser. As you can see, I placed them one by one because I wanted to adjust the spacing. I wanted them to be closer to each other, because the first time I did this embosser, the first time I used them, I placed the letters all at once and then pressed them, and then I noticed that they're so far away from each other, so far away. The spacing is really, not good for a one word. So this is what I do, to place them one by one so I can adjust the spacing nga. So now I'm just hand carving a cloud shape for my name topper. We cannot do this with the cloud shape cutter because the cloud shape cutter is too small for the name, for the whole name. I don't think we can use the cloud shape cutter with a long word or long name kasi it's too short nga. So here we have our name topper, and now we can just trim off the excess so it will look more professional and more clean. So ganyan lang siya. And after trimming the excess, I wanted to use a sugar shaper. This one. So I'm just pushing the indentation so it will look more clean nga and more precise to its shape. Diba? Para maganda yung gawa natin, kailangan talaga natin pagtuunan at bigyan ng oras, pagtuunan ng pansin kahit na maliliit na bagay. So, yan. If you're happy with your shape, you can now set that aside and make our second name topper. So we're just going to repeat everything, same process as the first one. So this is cornstarch again because everything is sticking because of the humidity. So we wanted our embosser and rolling pin to just easily glide on our fondant or gum paste. So again, I'm just placing the embosser letters one by one to adjust the spacing. So it's really up to you, no, if you want to lay them all together in one stamp, and then that's up to you. But for me, I wanted them to be closer to each other, so I'm putting them one by one. Okay, so here is our second name topper, and we're also going to trim the excess fondant. So our cloud shape is really looking professional looking and really nice, you know. Kasi pag may mga parang excess na mga fondant sa shape niya, parang napaka madungis or unprofessional, parang made in China ganon. Alam niyo, pag bumili kayo ng laruan and yung kulay nung laruan hindi tama dun sa kung saan yung kanwari shorts or ano, 'di ba? Ganon siya. So kailangan as a baker, as a sugar artist, kayo dyan na mga nanonood nito ay ayusin natin dapat. So I'm using sugar shaper again, and pag okay na, set aside na tayo. Next, we'll be going to use a circle cutter for our greeting topper. So since this is a baby cake, this cake is for a babe, so I'll be using the kind of like a flower shape of the circle cutter because I want some design. And also I'll be using my smallest embosser for this one. I'm going to use the smallest embosser that I have for this one, and I'm just carefully aligning and centering my stamp before I push it. Okay, so there we have our first word, and on to our second word, which is third, because number 3 nga. This is her third number cake. This is her third month being born. So happy third monthsary, baby Riley, and thank you for trusting us. So sometimes if you haven't centered the word that you wanted to put or place in the in the shape, you can also, you can just simply stamp it again and readjust the wordings. You know what I mean? So let me share with you guys the problem that I always encounter with this kind of stamp or embosser, because this embosser comes in one piece that you have to trim out each letter one by one. So sometimes there's an excess plastic around the rectangular shape which holds the letter. As you can see, that one that I pointed out, I think there's an excess plastic there, so we need to cut it so it can fit in the stamp holder. I don't know what you call this color blue, but I called it stamp holder. And as you can see, ayaw pa rin niya. It just don't fit. So we need to look a little bit closer because my eyes is so malabo. And then I found out that there is an excess plastic inside the rectangular over there. So we need to remove it para mag-fit siya. So the letter will fit in the holder, in the stamp holder. So ayan, I just removed it with my xacto knife, and let me show you guys. There it is. Here we go. So I hope this will fit na, and tada! That's how to handle the situation. So now, very carefully, we can stamp this word in our fondant. Happy 3rd month. Okay. And so I decided to just use a plain circle cutter for our debutante. And I just put a ton of cornstarch because it's really melting in my and sticking in the mold, or what you call this, mat, silicone mat. So I'm using the bigger stamp, and then carefully releasing it. And then I'm going to use this stamp for the TH, for the 18th. Okay, so there we have our second topper. So now I have a purple fondant, and I'm going to show you how to use a different kinds of molds. So this mold is very shallow, so we needed to use a craft knife in order to take out the excess, because when I try to take away the excess in the mold, I'm also taking away the handles of this shape. I don't know what it is called, but I'm calling it a C-shape wheel. So I'm we're gonna take away the handles if we take away the excess in the mold, because the mold is too shallow. So I'm just going to use a craft knife to remove the excess. I'm also going to use a skull cutter because this is a pirate theme cake, and I'm kind of struggling, and I'm kind of having a problem with my medium, which is this gum paste that is so soft. It should be firm and stable, but I don't know why, but satin ice is kind of like has a fondant consistency. It is soft and really really sticking, so I really need to help my gum paste to release from the cutter, to be released from the cutter. So there. Maybe if you dip your cutter in cornstarch, maybe it will help, but yeah, I'm just reshaping my fondant shape, gum paste shape with a brush. And there we have it, our skull sugar topper. So we're just going to repeat this process again until we completed our skull. So next mold is this one, a shell and clam molder. So this is one of my favorite molds because it, as you can see, it has a deep mold. It holds the shape really well. Unlike the first one, it's too shallow, so if we remove the excess, we're also removing the shape, if you get what I mean. But in this case, I'm taking off the excess and just pushing back again the gum paste, and here is our final topper. Okay, 'di ba ang cute pa rin niya? As you can see, it's still clam and shells. So this is one of my favorite molds. So kung pipili kayo ng mold, tignan nyo kung medyo malalim para malabas nyo ng maganda. Kasi kung manipis katulad nung sa violet and yung skull na manipis, diba, ang hirap tanggalin. So this flower mold is also one of my favorite mold because it is also a deep mold. So it holds the shape very well. Oh. Diba, kabog? So I just repeat that until I have completed my flower toppers. I am using a edible gold paint for my name topper, which is this one that I added a brown gel. So here is our final product. I used my number 0 brush tip for my paintings here. And I let my toppers dry overnight. So nasobrahan ko medyo yung ating gold. Ito yung gold, medyo yellowish. The color gold is super yellowish, so I added a little bit or nadamihan ko ng brown. So, medyo brownish siya. And for the Riley one, I used my silver lusterdust, a powder. You can just mix it with vodka or any alcohol of your liking. So, if you don't have the metallic airbrush color, you can opt for this lusterdust. Merong finer texture and meron din medyo malalaki siya. That looks like a glitter, but those are edibles. So, for the pacifier, I used my circle cutter. Hindi ko alam ba't ako nabubulol. Circle cutters, mga maliliit, the smallest ones. Ayan. So, I keep them here in a small container. So, there you have our toppers. And after drying this overnight, we can now assemble it on top of our cakes. So I decided that I wanted to elevate the topper so it will not just laying flat on the cake. So naglagay ako ng toothpick at the back of the 3D topper. This sugar figurine topper is Brook from One Piece. So that's it. Yeah. So there we have our number cake and letter cake. So if you have questions, please comment down. And I hope you find this video knowledgeable and entertaining. Please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my YouTube channel. So until next time, happy baking. This is Kat.